We're calling you live from the Old Fort Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network. And wherever you are on the free Odyssey app, good Wednesday morning. Last night was as good as it gets if you are a Knicks fan. I said yesterday that I'd get a feeling about this game early based on how Jalen Brunson and Isaiah Hartenstein looked. How these guys were moving, how these guys were playing, and right off the bat, well, maybe midway through the first quarter, the entire team is firing on all cylinders. Hartenstein's shoulder doesn't look like a problem. He is just grabbing every rebound. He had the cupping marks on his shoulders, so you knew he was doing all the rehab. And Jalen Brunson looked like himself for 4 quarters for the first time in a long time since the initial foot injury. He was explosive. He could move. He was getting in the lane. He was making those shots. He was hitting every type of Jalen Brunson maneuver that we have seen throughout the regular season. You add Donte DiVincenzo's toughness, getting in their face, the Garden crowd, a Game 5 back against the wall blowout last night, shorthanded. If you're not proud of this team, then I'm sorry. This is as good as it gets. One of my favorite Knicks games I have seen in years was last night. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Hey, good morning, G. I got to tell you, this getting no sleep at night is getting old. But if you're going to stay up and you're going to watch a game like that, you're going to watch effort like that, it doesn't get any better than that. And I would hope that the New York Rangers take a page out of the New York Knicks book, because last night the Knicks were on fire. I mean, you saw the effort. You saw just the extra effort by, Hartenstein. You saw the extra effort by Josh Hart. You saw the extra effort by Deuce McBride.
Oh, my God. He was great.
And by the way, Deuce McBride and Alec Burks hitting threes. That was big last night. And when you take a look at the amount of shots the Knicks took compared to the amount of shots that the Pacers attempted, I think it was 101 shots to 72. Think about that. And that has to do with all those offensive rebounds and the 5 assists that Isaiah Hartenstein had. And you think about his contract. He signed a 2-year, $16 million contract. He will be an unrestricted free agent this offseason. 2 years, $16 million for this performance. This performance through this whole season, once Mitchell Robinson went down, and then he came in and he became the starter, I mean, he has made a name for himself. He's not a great scorer of the basketball. We all know that. But what he is, he does the little things, and he does so many little things so good that this young man is going to make a lot of money in the offseason. I hope that the New York Knicks can keep him. Now, that's obviously a discussion for another day. But, when you take a look at this team, and Stan Van Gundy, if you just listen to him closely throughout the night, man, he's really good at what he does and how he explains things, and how Thibodeau does deserve credit for having 1 starter and 4 backups playing against the Indiana Pacer team. He's shorthanded, and on top of all of that, somehow, some way, they have created this team chemistry that when was the last time, and maybe I guess it goes all the way back to 99, because I was thinking about the Julius Randle-led Knicks that played the Hawks.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Julius had a bad series. And
he was the whole team.
Yeah, I know, and the Knicks ended up losing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the whole team is Brunson right now. I mean, he's got the ball in his hands 95% of the time. But the bigger the game, the bigger the step, the better Jalen Brunson is. That to me is the key to greatness. And greatness comes in different opportunities, along with different opportunities. And these opportunities that Jalen Brunson has had, and he has made the most of, I mean, it's breathtaking how he's playing. We all thought he had a bad foot, and maybe he struggled a little bit in Indiana. But I have to say, I'm with you, man. This is one of the most satisfying Knick wins that we have had in a really, really long time, and it's one of the biggest Knick wins we've had in a really, really long time.
And yesterday, I think we were pretty consistent that we weren't doubting the fact that they had this in them. We just weren't sure exactly where they were health-wise after that blowout. And you saw Hartenstein go down. You already knew about Anunoby. You knew that Jalen Brunson wasn't totally himself. So I just needed to see those guys early on. And when I saw Jalen Brunson doing the things that he has done the entire year, that's when I knew. It was like they're not losing. They're just, when he is that way, meaning the best player on the court, it's just they're not losing. Now, at least to this team, they're not losing. So when I saw he was doing all those things, I was supremely confident. And by the way, we've also been pretty consistent about having Tibbs back through this entire year and not
100%.
turning on him and saying he's
not at
playing too
all.
many. This is another one of those days where he needs to be lauded. And all the idiots out there that are slamming him for too many minutes and guys getting hurt and blah, 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 and his same old nonsense. He looked at the 2 losses in Indiana, made an adjustment, and this is the players and its effort too, but the coach needs credit. He starts Deuce McBride, and the energy and the speed and everything he wanted out of him, Deuce McBride delivered, and that was a tone setter early on in the first half of this game.
And by the way, Stan Van Gundy highlighted all of that at the beginning of the game.
Yep.
And I thought that was a great explanation as to what the coach was doing and how he makes adjustments. And, I hope Peter Laviolette is watching, and he makes adjustments too, because Rod Brendamore the last 2 games have made adjustments. And they're tiny. You may not notice them, but there are little things that the coach can do that can create different opportunities for the other players on the court or on the ice. And that's exactly what Tibbs did last night. And Van Gundy explained it absolutely perfectly. And I just, I don't know what's going to happen. They got 2 days off now, which I think, benefits the Knicks.
It does.
It has to benefit the Knicks as long as the Knicks take care of themselves. They don't do anything stupid, and they're in the middle of a playoff series. This is their life. This is their job. They're still young men. They still have a lot of money. There's still a lot of trappings out there. I want everybody just to focus in on the opportunity that it's in. People use a lot of coaches and players I'll run into. So, what's your advice? What's the thing that you regret the most out of your career? And that is my youthful inexperience and stupidity. And, there's really nothing you could do about that. I mean, you
got to learn.
Yeah, but you try to pass on some of the mistakes that maybe you made in your career, and you'd like to think that you can impact somebody by saying, look, this is your moment right now. This is the moment you take care of yourself. You do the right stuff. You eat the right things. You get the right amount of sleep. And then you have the energy to keep this thing going. Because, what it will take from the Knicks, and the Garden crowd was incredible last night, just like it was, for Game 5 for the Rangers. I mean, it was an incredible game. It was an incredible crowd, and the Rangers came out and laid an egg. And the Knicks was the complete opposite. And Jalen Brunson is a monster. I mean, he is a monster. I don't know what to tell you other than as being a Knicks fan, and I'm one of our callers since 1968, I can't remember a player that I've been this impressed with, this enjoyed this much watching, and just I'm amazed that a guy that size can do what he does and get his shots off and is not afraid to go to the hoop and create contact.
Yeah, and if you think, too, I mean, the Knicks won by 30 in a pivotal Game 5, this injured. I mean, it is
What does that tell you
incredible.
about the Pacers?
I mean, right. And the Pacers, I loved DiVincenzo last night. I loved him after the game. As he says, they're trying to be tough guys. It's not their personality. They're doing this fake tough guy persona. He gets in Miles Turner's face, and he goes, "What you doing, bitch?" I mean, come on. I mean, this was unbelievable. This is what we've wanted for so long. A winning team with this attitude that doesn't back down, that takes an opportunity like last night, makes zero excuses about who is out there, who's healthy, whatever, and just beats down the Indiana Pacers. Now, this series is not over by any stretch. The Knicks have not played well in Indiana. Well, most of Game 3 they played well. So I would not be surprised if it comes back to the Garden for a Game 7. I would love for them to just finish it on Friday night, but I have once again the supreme confidence in this team, and we didn't flip flop, go crazy, think this series was over by any stretch. So I'm proud of the fact we didn't back down on them, because I didn't think they'd come out and win by 30 last night. I will agree with that one. I did not think that would happen, but that's how tough and good these guys are, and if they somehow are able to get Anunoby back and get into the Eastern Conference Finals,
Don't even touch the money. But I will say this:
what am I touching the money? I'm talking about a guy coming back from a hamstring injury.
We're not talking about the finals. We're talking about right now. We're talking about this series, and that's it. And here's the thing: both teams at the Garden this year have shown the resiliency and the ability to come back from whatever adversity that they have been facing. They got embarrassed on Sunday. Let's face it. And they came back and they did something about it. The Rangers, to me, were embarrassed again at home in Game 5. Now, tonight, they have to do something about it. They have to come out and they have to impose their will against a team that has changed the momentum of the entire series and has been imposing their will on them. So, like I said yesterday, this team, the Knicks team, has heart, it has desire, it has the willingness to fight back, as you saw, and as you were just talking about with like DiVincenzo. He's a tough guy. He had that unbelievable rebound putback
dunk. Yeah, well, that's
great.
What happened right after that was the fracas, if you will, where they're getting in each other's faces and the Miles Turner stuff, and then with Jackson. So I mean, it was unbelievable, and he didn't even. I don't think he made a three last night.
No, he didn't.
DiVincenzo. So his impact on the game, which is generally from the 3-point line, when he hits a bunch of them, they win the games. Was in different ways. I mean, it's another sign of a great team. And Precious Achiuwa, that was the most confident I've seen him in the postseason.
Yeah, he's still not going to shoot from the outside, but you know what?
Well, you don't need him to.
Got a couple key offensive rebounds, got a couple key steals, got a couple nice assists. I mean, that's all you want. I'm not saying he's out there to score 30 points. What he's out there to do is to be effective on the boards, to be effective defensively. Sometimes he gets caught in a little space, and you can see he's a little bit awkward, but he has to have skin in the game, and the more he plays, the better he'll play.
I mean, and think about some of these guys. You got to give all the credit in the world to, like, someone like Deuce McBride, who's made the most out of his opportunities last night in a Game 5. I mean, going into this game tied 2-2 after getting blown out, and Deuce McBride is out there on the court to start the game and has an impact right away as a young player who could be overwhelmed by that environment. Alec Burks, who was in mothballs for the second half of the year after the trade deadline, has come out and contributed after having, the opportunities he had in the regular season. He was miserable, and then he got glued to the bench, and now he's had to play because of injuries, and slowly but surely he's gotten better and better and better every game, and he looks like the player the Knicks had the first time around, where he was a big contributor prior to Jalen Brunson getting here. I mean, it's Precious Achiuwa, another one. The fact that these guys who are not full-time players, have been bench players, have been thrown into this series in the way that they have and contributed the way that they had is a true sign of a really, really well-coached team with great leaders on it.
So when this team was somewhat healthy and they had Bogdanovich and they had Anunoby through Philadelphia, this is
Mitchell
where
Robinson too.
Right. But this is where I was saying some of these guys deserve to get some run in some of these games just to keep them going. And now all of a sudden you're going back to them again, just like you did in February. And I think that February run that they all had together, even though it wasn't great, but it was like a 500 run, is helping them now. So that is great. That's to me, watching that last night and seeing how, when they come out in the third quarter and Miles Turner hits 3 threes in a row.
Yeah, it was annoying.
I'd be like, all right, timeout. And by the way,
cut it to 9, but then they went on a 17-0 run after that, the Knicks.
Can we have any more stoppages of the game in the first half?
Yeah, first half was insane.
Christ. I mean, I don't know what the referees are doing. Rick Carlisle's calling timeout after every 4-point run by the Knicks, trying to slow the game down, trying to
didn't help.
Stop the momentum. And I mean, it was just stop, start.
Well, even Stan Van Gundy said it. He said, I think that Scott Foster's now broken the record for reviews in the first half of a basketball game. But, yeah, I know. That's a little bit frustrating. But the way that the game was going, nothing was knocking me out of it. Nothing was stopping me from enjoying it because it was they weren't losing. And you mentioned, right before we talked about the officials, the Miles Turner 3 threes in a row, timeout, 17-0 run after that. 17-0 run after that. They went from up 9 to whatever it was, up 25, 26.
I'm just trying to think of so the Knicks come down, they score, and they're all right. So you're thinking, okay, let's get Miles Turner involved if you're the Pacers.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget which Pacer just came up the floor with the ball, through the legs, and then threw up a jump shot and missed. And then all of a sudden the run was on. Miles Turner's actions and his success were completely just. They went away from it.
Yep, they did.
It's no awareness about who's on and how good he's playing. And by the way, even Stan Van Gundy said at that point that Isaiah Hartenstein was forgetting who he was covering, and they had to get tightened up on Miles Turner. But man, oh man,
they outworked him the whole night, man.
Oh God, it was
outworked him on the glass, outworked him on defense. Were quicker on offense. Yeah, and some of these annoying players that they have, like T.J. McConnell was completely suffocated last night. I love that you're not going to push us around. Like, all right, you beat our ass in Game 4. We got it. It's not happening here. It is not happening here.
How about the fact that they had 29 more shot attempts because of those offensive rebounds?
Yeah.
29 more shot attempts.
I mean, you can't lose it. You will not lose a game like that. You just won't. That is a recipe. So just awesome. Have to wait a couple days, obviously, for Game 6 on Friday night, which kind of stinks. I would have loved for it to be Thursday so we could talk about it on Friday. But we do have the Rangers Game 6 coming up on Thursday, so we'll be able to talk about that on Friday. But nothing tomorrow but the NFL schedule release, or nothing tonight, rather. So we got the schedule release at the perfect time because we won't have either the Knicks or the Rangers to talk about tomorrow. All right, it is Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network.